Hello and welcome to The Authentic Communicator. I'm your host, Kira Poki-Brevka, and I'm so excited that you stopped by my little corner of the internet today. In the first episode of this podcast, we talked about my why behind the podcast and my hope that all the conversations that I have on the podcast and the guests that I invite in help inspire you to share your authentic voice and to show up as your true authentic self in whichever ways that you're creating content or adding art to the world. In this episode, I want to talk about 3 things that have helped me show up as my authentic self. Because the truth is, I've always been me. There's never been a stage in life where I pretended not to be me. However, there have been certain situations or circumstances where I don't feel completely safe showing up as the fullest version of myself, or I feel judged when I show up as the fullest version of myself, whether it be because I don't drink or I'm really interested and love a lot of nerdy things, and sometimes people judge that a little bit. There have been situations where I want to show up as my full self, but when I do, there's some judgment that comes from it. And that's something that I think everybody struggles with at one point or another in their lives. And there are certain things that have helped me through those moments and have helped me show up as the fullest, most authentic version of myself now. So the first one of those things is my family. And it might sound a little corny to some people, but I was very blessed. It was a gift to have growing up 2 parents and an incredible older sister and younger sister who really loved me unconditionally for who I was and the fullest version of me in every evolution of myself as I was growing up right to today. I'm so very lucky to have that family love and support. And the truth is that having that kind of unconditional love when you come home means that no matter what happens at school or in the workplace, when you come home and you're completely held and loved for the exact person that you are in all of your glory, it really gives you empowerment to step out in the world as yourself, because no matter what happens, you know you have people that love you and back you up. And again, that was a gift, right? And I totally understand that not all families have that. Not all individuals find that within their family. However, if you find it in your chosen family, in your friends, in your tribe, in one other person that is your cheerleader throughout life and is with you through all the good times and all the bad times, if you can find that, hold on to it and never let that person go. I have to say that my husband has been that person for me as well. You know, ever since in my adult life, of course, I still have my family, but I've been blessed to add my husband to that list because of his love and support. You know, when I said, I want to start a podcast, I want to start a business, he said, go for it. I'm going to support you. And having that love and support throughout this journey has been absolutely invaluable. So I would say find that one person or that small group of people that love you unconditionally, that support you no matter what, that will be with you through the dark times and the bright, wonderful times of joy, and hold on to them really tightly, and also focus on gratitude around those people, because the more present you are with them, the more you're grateful for their support, the more it just empowers you to be yourself. The second thing that has really helped me is therapy and life coaching. And I am very vulnerable about this. I talk about therapy to everyone. I think everyone should go to therapy. Everybody should work with a life coach. And the reason I say that is because even if you're not going through a traumatic event, or you're not processing grief of some sort, or you're not going through a big life transition, the act of being self-aware, the act of doing self-reflection and doing the inner work, figuring out where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, what do you want to work on to become the best and fullest version of yourself, is such an empowering and wonderful gift to have. And so I highly recommend therapy and life coaching. And for me, they've helped me in different ways, but both of them have been very valuable in my journey, not only as a business owner and a marketer, but just as an individual. And going through therapy and going through life coaching has helped me with my relationships with my husband, with my family. It's helped me with my relationship as a citizen in the world. Just doing that inner work makes us ask some of the tough questions. It helps us grow as individuals, and it helps us do that personal and professional development to be the best that we can be. So highly recommend therapy and life coaching. I'll say it over and over again. And I'm not ashamed or nervous to talk about it at all, because it's just been such a wonderful gift. And then last, but certainly not least, the third thing that helps me really show up as myself is a commitment to not comparing myself to other people. Now, this is easier said than done. And obviously, at various stages of life, we all deal with this at one point or another, where we're comparing ourselves to someone else. So in the business sense, just to give you an example, if I sat here and I said, I just started this podcast. I just, started my business and went out on my own in 2021. There are so many other people who've been doing it for longer and they're further along. And why am I not there yet? If that's what I'm focused on, then I'm really draining myself of the strength and the creativity and the presence of working on my own dream and what I want to build. And again, like I said, it's easier said than done, and it's something that we always have to work on. But Theodore Roosevelt once said, comparison is a thief of joy. And it's absolutely true. So instead of comparing yourself to other people, remember that if you're seeing someone online who's been posting for 5 or 6 years, has 25,000 followers, and a bunch of different programs that are really successful, you're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 15. And at some point, they were at chapter 1, just like you. And so taking away comparison really relieves you of doubting yourself, beating yourself up because you're not there yet, right? Because you haven't arrived at a specific point in time. So what my advice would be is stop comparing. I know, right? It sounds so easy, but really do the work to stop comparing yourself to others and run your own race. You're competing with yourself. And that's really how I see it. For those of us who are dreamers, who are out here saying, we have a dream life that we want to build. We have a business, or we have a creative endeavor that we want to make a reality. We're not competing with each other. We're out here doing it together. And if we support one another, that's wonderful. You can look at someone else and cheer them on. You can look at someone else and be inspired by them and say, wow, they did this. They're being successful with it, so I can do it too. Those are wonderful things. Cheer people on, be inspired by them, but don't compare yourself to them. Run your own race and do the best that you possibly can for yourself. So just to wrap up, those 3 things are, find your tribe. Find the people that love you unconditionally as you are. And the people that, loving you unconditionally, challenge you to be the best version of yourself. Take a look into some therapy, personal development, and life coaching. It makes a world of difference. And like I said before, even if you're not in a moment of trauma right now, life has so many different twists and turns. If you ever, God forbid, do experience trauma in any way or grief, going through therapy gives you the tools to work through those really difficult times in a more empowered way. Not that it's not going to still be difficult, but it gives you a wonderful set of tools. So therapy and life coaching. And then last but not least, remove competition and comparison from your brain, right? Try to do the inner work to say, I'm not competing with other people. I'm not going to compare myself to other people. And instead, cheer other people on, be inspired by other people, and run your own race to the best of your ability. And before this episode closes, I wanted to share with you a couple of the people that I follow that have really inspired me because they show up as their authentic selves. Now, everyone I interview on the podcast, I would encourage you to go check out. And I mean that very genuinely. I ask these people to be on the podcast because I see them showing up authentically, doing the work, being vulnerable, and adding so much value to the world with their content and what they create. So every single person that I have on the podcast is one of those individuals that really inspires me. And I want to call out two people particularly because whether or not they realize it, they really helped me get to where I am today just by showing up as their authentic selves. So the first person I want to talk about is Lou Mongello. He's the creator of WDW Radio, the podcast. He has live videos and he talks about Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney destinations, Disney Cruise Line, but he also talks about the variety of entertainment that is under the Disney family. So Star Wars, Marvel, things like that. And being a huge Disney nut, I've listened to his podcast for years, but I've also done business coaching with him. I've gone to his Momentum Weekend Workshop, which honestly last year was my first time there. It was one of the most incredible business experiences I have ever had. And I've made friendships through the people that I've met there that I'm so incredibly grateful for. And it's just wonderful to have these people in my life. But most importantly, through all of those various avenues, Lou Mongello is who he is. When you meet him in person, he gives you a hug and a handshake, just like he talks about. And immediately you feel like you're talking to an extended family member that you just haven't seen in a while. He's the same person you hear in the podcast. He's the same person you see in the live videos. And it's incredibly refreshing and heartwarming to meet him and say, oh my gosh, this is exactly the person that I've been listening to for years. And he's so giving and so caring towards his community. And it's one of the reasons that he's built this incredible, optimistic, positive, loyal community is because he is so authentic. So if you're looking for someone to go follow to see how authenticity is done and done well, it's not that you have to look like him or sound like him or have this, the same types of content, but it's how he shows up in the world and how he really, puts his heart and soul and passion out into the world vulnerably, and connects with people because of that. So go follow WDW Radio, go look up Lou Mongello. He's a truly incredible human and someone that's a huge inspiration for me. And his business coaching and his events have really changed my life. They've added incredible people and friendships to my life, and they've changed my business in only positive ways. The second person that I wanted to mention is Julie Vorez. So she is a body coach. It was formerly called Beachbody, but she's a body coach. She's also a female empowerment coach. In the past, she's done masterminds and business coaching. And right now, she's really focused on women who are empty nesters and building their dream life in that stage of life. And it's really her live videos that I watched throughout the pandemic leading into 2021 and her podcast that was the catalyst for me taking the leap out of the corporate world. A specific podcast with her and Lisa Denota Glasner, another wonderful guest on my podcast, both incredible women, incredible business women, incredibly authentic women. But because of the podcast they did together, they inspired me. They gave me the permission to take that leap out of corporate and start my own business. And what I love about Julie is the same thing I love about Lou. And she's building a community that's strong and empowered and connected because she is a very genuine, authentic individual. So the woman you see in the videos on Instagram, the woman you hear on the podcast, is that same fierce, incredible, energetic woman that you meet in person that will cheer you on and be a supporter and a friend. And those two individuals, I just wanted to give a shout out to because they've had such an impact on my life and my business in such a positive and powerful way. But they're also great examples. So go check out Julie Vorez on Instagram, go to her website, check out her podcast on Spotify, and learn about, just by example, how Lou shows up, how Julie shows up. They're really wonderful inspirations if you're looking for somebody who's going to come to the table as their full, genuine, authentic selves. So I hope this podcast has helped you. I hope that the three things that I mentioned that have helped me are inspiring to you and help you find your own way. And I hope that you'll check out Lou and Julie and also dive into the other people that I interview throughout the podcast, because each and every one of them is so authentic and so genuine. So I'm so excited. I'm most excited for episodes 3 and beyond, because then it's not just me talking. I'm having conversations with incredible, creative, wonderful, and authentic people. And I can't wait for you to dive into those next week. So please subscribe, stick around. If you're finding these episodes helpful, I would be so grateful to you if you would subscribe and give a positive review. It really helps. And I'm wishing you the most wonderful week ahead. Talk to you next week.